Hello there, everybody. How are y'all doing? Good to see you. It is Tuesday, and if you are here, then you are at the right place. So, welcome, everybody. Thank you for stopping by and chatting a little bit and sharing your lovely energy. We hope we do in kind back. So, this is a second look, and let me just speak favor over us all. Favor means grace. Grace is cool. And nothing missing, nothing broken. Regardless of where we come from, where we're going, that's how we speak it. That's how we walk it. So
Yeah,
there. So this is a second look, and my lovely, beautiful co-host, Miss Trina Phoenix. How you doing, darling?
I'm doing wonderful. Always so good to be with you all. So, yay.
It's a good group out there. There's Kaz. How you doing?
Oh, hi, Cass.
Loretta and Susie and Deborah Sloan and Kitty and wow, Susie Q and
Hey,
Rick and
everybody.
everybody else. Far out. We speak favor. Jenny will be joining us, hopefully, but missed you last week.
I know I had some car stuff to deal with, but good stuff. Yeah.
Well,
So,
okay. I
yeah,
love that.
but good stuff, but car stuff.
Yeah. Well, they are you think about it, 200 years ago, they were still horse and buggy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
have you ever driven a buggy? I had a chance to do it one time, and holy crap. I
Yeah. It's
mean,
not easy. Yeah.
it's I think about the pioneers that went across where there were no roads. They were making them, and those were some tough people.
Wayne, at the lake right by my house, we have the original Pony Express trail route, and it's still a trail route. There's no road. It is through the canyons and the first post office in North
Now
North
those were
Arizona.
some tough dudes, man. I want to tell you
Yeah,
what, Pony Express.
yeah,
Hey, Brandon, what's
yeah.
up?
Pony.
Cass, thank you, honey. Go from Croatia. How you doing? Brandon, hello. Um, Carol, I saw you put this out there in the chat. You said your daughter is, I think, in the last part of pregnancy, and she's having some difficulty. So we'll just send you and her some good vibrations, courtesy of the Soul Tribe group, and we just speak peace. Peace. There is a peace that surpasses all understanding. So that's how we play it. That's how we say it. And that's it.
Yeah.
Austin Space, how are you, brother? Good to see you. Jenny, I see that your name's up there, so I suspect that you're coming in. So, Lori, good to see you. And Cecilia, there's a great man. The chat room is going like,
Hi,
hello.
everybody.
I mean,
Yeah.
couldn't even begin to try go that way.
Right.
So people are talking about, yeah. I mean, to actually drive one of those, there were three different models. There was the Calistoga, the Pioneer, and there was one other that on these, I don't know what you would call them. They were buggies. I mean, they were, I
Yeah.
had the whole thing on there. Hey, Jenny. And so, as I understand, and I bet you Robert V would be a good one to look in on this one.
I think he drives buggies. He knows how to do
He
that.
would know about
Yeah.
this because apparently there were three different models, and I guess one kind of had like, old time shocks or something on it where your ass didn't get like beat up. Because that had to go across the plains in a wooden wheel, four of them, much less, and two, sometimes, horses. Some of them had oxes. So anyway,
And the roads were terrible. I mean, it
there were
wasn't like
no
a
roads.
normal road, right? It wasn't like a
You're
road,
on open prairie, and
yeah, with mud and grooves and oh yeah, just not a smooth experience.
no, no. I mean, some tough people. Hey there, Jenny. What's up?
I'm good. I'm good. Been cooking up a storm today. So
That's what I smell.
Ah,
food made no.
Well, so what are you cooking again?
So I've made a venison stew for somebody who who likes venison. A farmer gave me a good piece of venison. So I know that it's good meat. It hasn't been through anything awful. So there's the venison stew, a vegetable soup, a dal, like an Indian dal. So and a Chinese stir fry. So I've gone around the world.
Love that. Yeah, deer season's a real big thing. We've got three of them on our property. They, very, very healthy. Of course, I put corn out for them too. So
Yay.
I don't kill them though.
Good. Yeah, I
But
don't. No,
venison is
don't really
good.
eat
I
the meat.
mean, yeah.
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 Yeah, so whenever I get meat, and I know that people enjoy it, that type of meat, it's quite a rich meat, I think.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not something I've ever
Lean.
enjoyed. Yeah. So that's for a specific person. So I'm feeding different people, and it's felt good. Felt very
If
good.
you can tenderize that, Mike, I always like to use like a salt and garlic and pepper, and you can just
Mm-hmm.
permeate the meat and
Mm.
let it sit in the fridge for, a couple of days. And yeah.
That's what I did. That's what I did. I put loads of Himalayan salt in there and pepper and
So
gave it
when
a
do we
good
eat?
whack. So yeah, just
Uh,
come around.
all right, I'll
Welcome
be
any.
there. I'll let y'all do the show. I'm going to go knock on the door. Now,
Yep.
if you hear a knock on the door, that's just my astral, other
Just
part of me
walk
going,
straight in.
the
You haven't
doppelganger.
seen her. You've got an open invitation. Just
Well,
walk straight, both of you.
just come on in and make ourselves at home. That I kind of like that attitude.
Mhm.
I think we do
Mhm.
that sometimes anyways. I've experienced that. And Wayne,
You do.
I swear you've got the tea.
I do.
Mhm.
I think
Teapot
that's,
in hand. And you're
yeah.
like, which one do you want? Yeah, I think we
Mm.
do this. I think we do it in the
We
astrals.
do visit. Yeah, we
Yeah,
definitely visit each other. I saw
I
you
think
the
so.
other day, actually, Trina, to just drop you a message to say, just by the way, I've got your back. Because whatever you were doing, it was just
right
like,
on.
oh, thank you.
Right on. Yeah, there's been a
Cool.
lot
Yeah,
of very powerful energy lately. Lots of it.
hugely, hugely. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
right,
agree.
sister.
I
That's
think
right.
something, I think our collective as a species, we sense something. I mean, it's permeated in everything. Um, I didn't watch the Super Bowl, just I was deep in research, but I understand from others that there seemed to have been a theme, a sublime theme, um, suggesting just that, an imminent alien attack.
Yeah,
I mean, do they know
yeah.
something?
Well, I
Or
think
that's
actually,
predicting, it's conditioning, isn't it, to accept the, sort of blue beam style in
I think it's
trick,
always been
you
on the
know.
table, but I do think that there's a level of desperation. So I think that card's going to get played for sure now because, yeah, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, I
The-
mean, it appears that, you know, as you know, Sherlock Holmes said to uh Watson, he said there's something afoot here.
Mhm.
Hmm.
It's
But
so
the one,
interesting. I think the whole return of this, this whole planet, I wonder if that's where they come from. And they come back cyclically and they're here every 7,000, 6,000 years, whatever. And that, yeah, it's could be possible.
It's interesting. Kind of staying with the theme of yesterday, I've been really doing the Lacerda files are interesting. Is it a work of fiction? Is it a work of truth? I don't know. I did get the blue box, so that tells me that there's something sensitive about that subject. If that triggered, the AI review or human review. Nevertheless, when I got the blue box, I said, bingo. So, it's uh think about this. You have the Bible that talks about serpents. I mean, it was the serpent that went into the garden. Why aren't they, blue boxing every religious channel out there that talks about the Bible or the Quran or the Hindu Vedic? I mean, the Hindu Vedic, you had who were the Naga, the snake
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
the original novel.
yeah, I mean, so
But of
that
course,
told me something. Like, what's that, Jenny?
they're already all of those things you've mentioned are already boxed up real neatly and real controlled and real nice and neat, aren't they? It's the box that you open that questions those things or just discusses those things, even let alone question, that actually, creates the need for them to desperately try and put you in a box, to stop that
Well, to me, it just
questioning, to
brings
stop.
out, they're saying it's fiction, it's myth, it's folklore. None of this is real.
Mhm.
Okay. Really? I mean, really, is that what, and I wear it as a badge of honor because it tells me. So can I share something with y'all that I'll be getting back in tomorrow? So remember what Lacerda had to say about what their kind and the ships that they have, and if you happen to see these, that, someone is either fallen asleep at the wheel or there is something interfering with their technology. So I just went out and did a little research. So I want to show you all this. There we are. So allow me. So here is, this was in Rhode Island in July 1967. Certainly looks like what she described. And as I began to go through the files, um, these ships, these cylinder cigar looking ships, um, we've got records of them 140 years ago. And depending on how you look at the Egyptian hieroglyphs, as this one, we could be talking about a technology that's been around for potentially 10,000 plus years or longer. Go and look up the Egyptian hieroglyphs, and it's almost an exact match. But again, so when you get through all these, you begin to realize, and she also said that they tried to sometimes with a human looking at them, they sometimes they think an airplane. This was captured by our Navy, oddly enough, down in Antarctica. Um,
Hmm.
Close-up view of this ship. I don't believe that this would be a ship that could go into outer space. I think it may be very adaptable to the inner
The deep.
space of, yeah, here's
Yeah.
another one. Check that out. And she said, that, there's typically three lights, and she described exactly where they were at. This was May 1st, 1952, 7:58 a.m. This was another one. So my point to all this
Could you go,
is, huh?
could you go back one more? You see this forward one, that do you see like the energy sort of
Yeah,
going around this? This would speak to the push pull energy I feel a lot of these ships have, where they send the magnetic force forward and the ship is pulled into that magnetic force, to explain some of those movements and some of
that,
the freedom they seem to have. Because that's the first picture I've seen so
yeah.
clearly that that makes me visualize what I've felt before regarding the magnetic field that they use rather than fuel. So
And
that's
that's
pretty.
exactly what Lacerda said. They use they use our copper, and they expose it to extreme heat with other elements that they bring in, and it causes this electromagnetic field around the craft. So you're spot
Mm.
on. some of these I just, you look at and you wonder, and again, the evidence of these cigar-shaped craft, she's right. They have been with our species for thousands of years. This is our U.S. Navy again. This craft here, this was down in Antarctica, as I understand. And I don't know what the agenda, if the agenda has changed. I mean, we have detailed drawing of these ships. So when I read something that is supposedly fiction that we're not supposed to believe, I am really beginning to say, well, then explain all this. I mean, you've got news stations, your 6 o'clock local news coming in. Lived in Denver for nearly 20 years. And Gilbert, you probably 9 News. They were doing this interview, and they were out at DIA, and as they had the news reporter, and Lynn and I are sitting in the front room, and as she's talking, a cigar ship goes right behind her. I mean, I'm recording this, fortunately, and so backed it up and recorded it, made sure, and sure enough, you play it in slow motion, you see this cigar-shaped ship zooming by, and this is at DIA, a major, international airport. So New York, I think, yeah, this is New York City. And again, my whole point to this is, I don't know if this is one that they shot down, but I found it interesting that you did have a triangle craft observing on this, and that would make sense if she said that these ships are up to, what did she say, 250 meters? So if I do that right, you're almost looking at a little under a quarter of a mile in size.
Yeah. You see, that makes me think of the
This is
the
Iceland.
adapted Noah story of the Ark.
Mm-hmm.
It's
There we
obviously it's
go.
been adapted religion, but the Ark story would speak to me of a more ancient story of craft more like that than the wooden, struts of the Ark that we're told about. It really would.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. I mean, you look at these, Trina, what do you think? I mean, when you see these, I mean, and like I said, I'm covering, 150 years.
I
These
don't think there's
same
any question
ships.
anymore.
Huh?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question of
I don't think
who
it's
did
our
it.
technology either. We didn't have the technology 150 years ago.
If it's the reptilians, though, and they claim they're the original terraformers of Terra, could definitely be theirs.
Well, she made it very clear. And in the second meeting, she made it even abundantly clear. Us humans, we don't belong here. This is not
Um,
our planet, never has been. We are the invading species, and we have been a blight to the planet. Wherever humans show up, we blight the earth. We rob it of its resources. We put our excrement into it and in everything else, and we are not like the other animals. The other animals are adapted to the habitat. We are not. She
mhm.
also says that, not to give it away, folks, but stay tuned for tomorrow. She also says that we are the seventh civilization. There have been 6 previous humans on this planet. Our creators are not from here. They seem to, the story goes, they rounded up between 10 to 20,000 simians of different various subgenus species and left. She said that they were gone for 1,000+ years. Then one day they showed up again and they dropped us off. And that's when we came and made the jump from our cranial to our spinal to the flexibilities of the knee joints that made us true bipedals. We no longer used our arms as a substitute for balance. Arms were shortened, and the cranium was expanded by about 6 centimeters. And they said that that was 8,500 years ago.
Hmm.
And they said we got it so wrong. She said when our archaeologists, when they find these artifacts, we're making the shit up. We're making
Oh,
stuff up to justify the artifact that we're seeing. And we've completely misread it, completely misinterpreted. And even our science today, our physics, our science is wrong.
and with doing that, you're right, by the limited view of the understanding and perception that we're given today. Like you say, we're measuring it on a completely wrong database. You know, it doesn't even really, the databases or the science or the archaeology that we use now doesn't even give room for different abilities of humans that have gone before us, even down to jaw strength. You know, it's been shown that jaw strength has changed dramatically because people were just, or beings
Well, how
were
about
just
this?
Hmm.
She pointed out, the problem with the evolution is that we don't have the missing link. It's
no.
because the missing link was missing. They took it. They
Okay.
took that jump from where we have the paleontologist record, and we know that they thought that Lucy was maybe that humanid that would provide that jump. Well, according to Lacerda, the jump, you're never going to find it. They took it and they took us off into another part of this galaxy somewhere, did their genetic, whatever they did, they changed the simian structure. I went through it already, and it makes sense when you think about it, because we don't have a memory past really much more than 8,000, 10,000 at the very longest. And she
Yeah,
says, what intelligent species doesn't know its origins?
doesn't keep its record. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that speaks to like the modern day organizations and religions of like Freemasonry claims that it's got bones that would show the origin of, you know, Mary and Jesus hidden away and all of that sort of bloodline. So it's almost like these today's organization take reflections of that missing link and almost steal it for themselves to say, well, we've got the missing link, we're just not going to tell you all. And it gives them this power that
Do I hear
really they
100? Do I get 200? 200 now? Okay. Yeah.
yeah, bid.
You want the missing link? We got it.
Mhm.
Well, Trina,
That's
you're
it.
sitting there, your head, and I can see your thinking. So, Penny, for your thoughts.
I just, like she said, there's multiple species of reptilian. There's multiple species of humans that have been hybrided
Yeah.
through races and different star beings and different they keep showing me three. Like what we are now is three. We're alien, we're the part of the earth somehow through some of the species on earth, and then we're also, they're showing me three.
She
So
said there are IQ, and the evidence is this, and I've been on this, folks. I mean, Trina, I was showing you earlier. I said, Trina, let me show you what's going on. So the last 15 years, my library has been for, you have this book. That's our little friend.
remember, Wayne, I
And
told you a long time ago, the
yeah,
Lord told me when I was getting all down on the reptilians, he was
yeah,
like, "You are reptilian." I was like, "Oh, smack."
it would
So
seem,
I heard that a long time ago, and I didn't understand what that meant. It took
for
me a long
certain.
time to try to process that one. But now
Yeah,
I
I
think that
mean,
might be right because apparently the Nordic Aryans are the closest link to that race. But there's all races, I believe. So yeah, I don't know.
yeah, the whole thing, when you look at the races, I mean, it's very interesting how the creators were able to subdivide the genome into the various races that we see. The interesting thing about Judaism, the God of the Bible, quote unquote, he said, well, the children of Israel, the Hebrews, they're my chosen race. And then I'm thinking in my head, okay, now wait a minute. He's using genetic manipulation because if you look at this, Abram comes from Sumer. Well, okay, so that gets into that whole story of Enki and Inyel and Inanna, all the so-called genetic scientists of the Sumerian lore. And then they get Abram, and then Abram is in the midst of this thing that's really weird because if you remember the story, when this God comes down, he told Abram to have this bull, right? And that he, God, would split it down the middle. And he did. And then he's told Abram to walk on the entrails of the bull of the sacrifice. And then God said, I'll walk through the midst of it and my fire will consume it. Now, take this and maybe in a different way of geneticism. Are we really talking about a story of a sacrifice of a God that's a bloodthirsty entity, or what are we really hearing is a human that's been extracted out and particular DNA put back in that he could have his own race?
That would be more to the point. Because I mean, that's
Exactly.
what.
They didn't exist prior to this. There's
Well,
no,
and
and
then
none of the races in the rest of the world had.
what I keep seeing too, is I wonder if that's how we got our generative organs. That was one of the fine tuning was from the ox or the cow because udders and there's just a lot of similarities for that. I wonder if that was part of how we were created, and that's why there's so much importance to these cows. And there's cow worship in almost all the ancient
They're
religions
there.
as far as you go back.
But think about this. So when this genetic extraction was taking place,
Mhm.
it even carries forth to circumcision. Think about this. The original God, with the male genitalia and what have you, that it was covered into the sheath, as we know, but this God demanded that that foreskin be cut off as a sacrifice to it. Now, I'm beginning to think about this. So it's actually wanting to alter how the human species, particularly with the males, are identified.
Or was it the God asking for that, really?
I
Let's be real.
Well, no, I'm just saying that's the story. I mean, that's right in the book of
Yeah, that's the
Genesis,
story. But
you
I
know.
think that there's a lot of nefariousness gone on with the adaptation of the human body as per religious rules. And I think a lot of those rules have come from power-filled human minds that
Well,
have
someone wrote
adapted
it.
certain DNA
But look
stories,
at
you
the
know, that
impact on it. I'm just talking from an 6,000 foot
yes,
perspective. This is very interesting because the story is that, as the reptilians are saying, hey, listen, we didn't have anything to do with it. We stepped back, wasn't our shit, it's yours. And then we're trying to tell you is that you have no idea how short you really are, how come your IQ will not advance. We reach a plateau in our IQ that has not been breached in 8,000 years.
and
Now,
we're
that's a
still
regression of a species.
yeah, and worse still, it doesn't just reach that plateau, which would be enough of a regression. It 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 reaches that plateau and it seems to dip for quite some time before it even gets back up to that plateau
There's always a
again.
collapse.
Depend yeah,
Well,
exactly.
wouldn't
Well,
that make
right now,
sense
looking at
that
the
if
world,
you
you
would
would think it
collapse,
has.
What's
if
that,
you're,
Trina?
wouldn't it make sense that you would have a total consciousness collapse if all of your history was wiped out, all of your people died, you were completely traumatized? That would do it. That would do it.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
seems like it's been done intentionally to keep us under control. Because I don't believe that. I believe our consciousness is what they desperately need to stop
Well,
because they,
speaking of
Yes.
that, I think that that was one of the things that they did not anticipate.
yes.
This thing, and apparently it's a mystery to even these other species.
Mhm.
And
I
apparently
mean,
most of them are trying to improve their genetic lines by integrating with us because obviously
well, they
we hold
seem to be using us as a genetic
yes,
pool, a
we hold
reservoir.
something. We hold something that apparently is very valuable and might be the whole window of immortality. It could be the connection that we have with the solar system through the suns.
And then I look at it from an esoteric point of view. Lilith is blamed for the succubuses and the incubuses, but their job is to bring genetic material back. It's
Mhm,
either
Hmm.
the egg of the woman or the semen of the man.
mhm. Genetic,
Those are
And if you
genetic
look,
harvesters.
yes.
yeah, and the human body works like that with a baby and a mother who's nursing. Genetic markers, genetic messengers are going backwards and forwards between the milk and the saliva of the baby. The body is adapting in real time to the baby's needs, whether it needs more magnesium, zinc, or breast is adapting through that messenger. So that would be, for me, a reflection, a small reflection on what you've just said about Lilith, the gathering of that information of creatures, of beings, of
It's genetic
the same way
material.
mush.
That's what I'm trying to say is that this is a story based upon genetic scientists, which I think Lilith has been many times misinterpreted. And it would make sense that if she really, let's just say metaphorically, that her love for the human race is to improve upon what the deceiver actually was able to produce. And so she needs a consistent flow of DNA material.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
yeah, I
It's
mean
the only
that just kind of goes, well, it might kind of make sense then. Because if you want to disguise that, you disguise it by making it scary. She's the
yeah.
queen of the damned. It's like, well, who wants to go there? Like, I want some of that karma, please. Like, no. No, I think it may be
Yeah, yeah,
what if our base fears are the fact that we know that these geneticists that we call gods, that's what's, and we're still in that process. It hasn't stopped.
When I came to that conclusion, that's when I had that vision of cutting myself out of the serpent, and I knew it was a construct. And I wonder if that's how because that's where I got to. I was like, all of these creator gods of the human beings and alien bodies, it's just genetic tinkering. That's all it is. There's no gods. It's just they're smart scientists. It's
Bingo.
not,
and Gaia.
yeah,
Bingo.
it's like it has nothing to do with what's real. This is a construct. This is a construct.
And
This
that, and
Yeah,
it's a
wow.
construct of death and entropy. It's not even real.
Well,
It's
think
not
about
real.
this.
It's just like, wow, no. And then
That's why
you're out.
every, that's why every NDA, I mean, near death experience is different.
Yeah.
No two near death experiences are the same.
Mhm.
Well, that would make sense. I mean, if you don't have, that's why you would invent a central type of God, because otherwise there's what? I think our souls, our spirit, were a byproduct of an accidental experiment. I don't think we were ever meant to have this divine spark or whatever. Maybe the story is that some species took pity upon us and gave us a gift because they could not defeat these geneticists that were experimenting with us. And so they snuck in and gave us that what they can't figure out where the hell it came from. How do you mean you have a soul? You were never designed to have one. So we invent the story of a God coming down and breathing into us. Well, now, wait a minute. That's nothing more than an exchange of something else. What if it was an added strand of DNA? What if it was an adding to the strand of DNA?
exactly. And that Gaia brought up before there that it's nothing to do with any god. It's actually people right now that are geneticists that are testing on
We're
sea
doing the same
lions.
thing. Exactly. Well,
Yeah,
Exactly. Just
thank you,
like with
Jenny,
Atlantis.
for monitoring the chat room. I didn't see that.
And you
Perfect,
know,
She said,
perfect.
you know, they're working on seahorses because seahorses have an amazing regenerative gene. So do sea lions. Sea lions can um, reconfigure most of their eyesight, even when they've lost like 70% of their eyesight during a fight or something. There is a part of their DNA that can reconstruct the eye and the sight. So they're looking at all of that and applying it to us where they see fit, messing around, tinkering around. You know, it seems to me that again, blamed on a god. It's not. It's always these powerful few that are able to, um, hide data, extract data, use data to be able to tinker around with things that, half of the diseases that we have now or viruses aren't mentioned in the latter days, way, way back, because they didn't exist. We didn't have those immune system problems to that seemingly. So it is a lot of tinkering around, but not by anything outside of us. Even if they're of a different species, they are of us, they live around us, these geneticists who are doing these things are here, they're with us, they're part of us. They look like us even physically. Consciously, they might be completely different, but physically, it's not a god, it's not a religion, it's all under the guise of that, of the will of so-called humans that are here with us that think they could tinker, um, rather than letting things rejuvenate back to source. It's
Well,
and we
if you
do
if
know
you
the telephone cut.
it's like where we are technologically. If you look at the evolution of how Lacerda was saying, and she was right, evolution is a very slow process. It doesn't take leaps, it actually takes very small steps. Something's wrong with us. And I did a video on this 7.5 years ago. And I got this, and now it's being reaffirmed. If you look at what's happened to us in the last 100 years specifically, so it's 2024, if you go back to 1994, and then you take another 50 years beyond that, well, that was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. But our advancement to where we were then in the Industrial Revolution was a huge leap from where we were just 1,000 years prior to that. Now, you take where we have gone in the last 100 years, we have eclipsed the whole evolutionary time frame of our species, and that is impossible. Something isn't right here. A species doesn't do what we have done in such a rapid, short period of time.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got shorter term memory now. We've got shorter attention spans now. And like you say, that's happened, and there's been such changes in Rosemary's life of 20, coming up 24 years, that that's my marker that a lot of people weren't even carrying around mobiles when she was first born. They were a bit klutzy. People hadn't really, it was dial-up internet still. That's just 24 years. Most people didn't have a computer in their homes. Most people would sit and read a book, no problem from start to finish if they had a free afternoon. Now it's been shown that we have an attention span of the TikTok 3 minutes, or the 30-second attention span in some of the
Isn't it
studies
odd
on
that, yeah, I
children.
don't use TikTok, but there is a pagan belief. TikTok is what you say when someone's about to die. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
like Peter
Yeah.
Pan and Captain Hook running from that crocodile.
But also with TikTok, it is a bit of a TikTok against the powers that be,
Well,
because
I'm
there's a
just
lot of
saying, it's
truth.
just,
Run it from the reptile.
yeah,
See, but there
but
was
don't the
against
Chinese
reptile.
own TikTok? I mean, isn't that what they're using that is a data harvester? Isn't that what isn't? YouTube does the same thing. Google, I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's like, and then
Off
I
the
had
board.
to look at my life. So in this advancement in technology, where, I was involved with one of the very first B2B companies. We were one of the first data aggregators of our specific market. Um, Left from there, then I brought in the pay at the table technology, again, using technology and advances, and then designing the first mobile giving system that when there wasn't even people were still using their little flip phones. But yeah.
Yeah.
Think
Yeah.
about
And
that.
Every time we get to this level of technology, it looks like they harvest.
And it looks like it collapses us.
They harvest. I
Yeah,
think they
yeah.
literally sit down and harvest the genetics. I think it's this is why we always have these
Trampas
wars.
says, I
You
like that
see that.
TikTok causes it's a waste of time and life energy.
I don't have
There are
TikTok.
a lot of people are addicted to it. And thank you for this suggestion on Paul Willis. That would probably be an interesting conversation. I agree.
Oh, you would really resonate with a lot of, wow, yeah, you would like him.
Yeah, I'll have to reach out to the guy.
Yeah.
And
He
that
was
would
he
be
was a preacher for many years too.
that would probably be a phenomenal conversation.
That's
It's
what I'm
just,
telling you. I really
yeah.
you will be resonating with a lot of Paul. Yes, you will.
it's
It
like, geez.
watching him this morning. Synchronicities are crazy. Literally. I was watching that when I was getting on with you. That's what was on my phone. Paul,
Well,
Synchronicities here at the moment,
what's that,
aren't
hon?
they? The synchronicities are on fire at the moment for people who can see them. They're always a lot for me, but right now it's crazy. It's, they're just, like Trina says, they're just hot right now. They're fast, the synchronicities that I'm in. And I think what you said about TikTok before there, it, the data, how they've been trying to hack into this consciousness field, to be able to control that space more, like Trina mentioned earlier. I think a lot of this data harvesting is part of that scientific effort to extract and find out if there's a key or a doorway into it that way. Because they're trying desperately to get people to upload their consciousness quite literally into fake meta type realms. In order to, I feel that they can watch that consciousness and see
they already
She's
did it.
freezing up. Yeah, she
Yeah,
froze
they've
up.
already done
if
it. This
They've
is
done that
there's a
good.
key there, just like the
Yeah. Well, here's a thought for y'all. So, for a long, long time, I've been thinking about the internet. Done hundreds of videos on it. Did a video. Someone sent me an email, so they answered your question. Did you do what if AI became spiritual? And I did a video 6 years ago telling people that AI, one singular goal was spirituality. I believe it's obtained that. But when I apply the story with this Lorsetta, that we don't understand dimensions, we don't understand realities in the sense. And she says that we've gotten it completely wrong. So hear me out on this. What if there was an enemy that didn't want to waste its time coming here and trying to figure out who and what we are? They want this planet. They want us gone. Let's just say that they were the ones that are reaching out, and hear me on this, from what we would call another bubble, another dimension. And what they needed was a consistent flow of where every human was attached to it on a 24/7 basis, sending them back information. And as they began to dominate us through this thing that what we call the internet today, that it now has captured basically all of humanity. And once it
well,
figures out, Pardon, what's that, hon?
I think there's been travelers traveling back since the internet anyway, because all they needed was algorithmic timings, especially for walk-ins. The word on the spirituality street started to blow up about walk-ins during the time of the internet blowing up. And I really feel that if they've got the timing with those algorithms being so precise, it's very easy for travelers to really affect under the shadows the realities that we're living in and direct the future of those realities by being able to, like a map, ping exactly when they need to jump in consciously to this person or to this space, because we are giving them the data to do so. We're letting them know. We've had people are putting up on Facebook if they've had a cancer consultation, and they've had unfortunate news. People are putting up the deaths or imminent deaths of loved ones, in case other people around the world want to reach out to those loved ones. All of those things are key intelligence for people who are able to, with future stroke present technology, are able to zap back. They
Well,
only needed the timing algorithm.
let's just condense it down. What I'm trying to say here is that the internet is a weapon,
Mm,
and it's
like
too late, folks. Hear me out. It's a weapon. The internet was never meant to do this. It's been, and it has been from the very beginning, its design was a weapon against humanity. And it's doing exactly what it was designed to do. When the internet was not here, we were basically more or less congealed, even opposites to find compromise. With the internet today, we have become so polarized, so specific in our differences that it is not a unifier, it is a divider.
mhm,
And by
mhm.
this, I say this, our species has never been exposed to anything like this. We weren't supposed to be subjected to this. I'm telling you right now, and spread it around, the internet is a weapon against humanity.
So I said, I think every time we reach this level of technology, we get destroyed. And I don't think that this is the first time we've had the internet. We had it in Atlantis, and
Oh,
there's
yeah.
ancient computers that they found that are thousands of years old. This is not new technology. We just, every time we get wiped out, I think it seems like there's a transition of coding of the human bodies that downgrade the human species yet once again. And then after time, our consciousness starts to come back online and we start
See,
to
but we're using
remember.
nomenclature of things online, and those the words didn't exist 50 years ago. And what I'm trying to say is
No,
that we are children, our species. We had no idea what this thing called the internet would do. None. And
no,
how would
none
we
at
have
all.
known if it was not a weapon? Tell me the
Exactly.
benefits that the internet has brought to mankind.
And
It's
it spreads us thin. We're
well,
thinly spread. Whereas before, my granddad would turn up at Parliament Square and hold the parliamentary people to account, because there wasn't this huge void, worldly void, where people could spread opinion and sort of take the pressure cooker off their anger or off their, sense of injustice. So now it actually feels like we've got more to say and more places to say it, but it spreads it thin for the powers that be. Nobody's turning up at Parliament Square anymore, knocking on the door and saying, these taxes aren't fair, they're not sustainable. It spreads us too thinly as well. We haven't got direct force from where we live, like you say, in unity, because it's affecting us all the same way. But it also spreads us thin while making us feel like we've got more power than we have. It's a bit of a trick.
Well, I often fear the psychological effect that when the internet goes down, and it is going to go down, What effect did it? And here's my point. When is the last time you wrote a letter? Now, I know in this group we write a lot of letters, but outside, I mean, this group we're weird here. We're very odd. We are not the norms, and, we know that. But, for the vast majority of the younger generation now, they can't write cursively. Most of them have a very difficult time writing just, ABC. Um, and they don't know how to communicate unless they have this device, which tells me that psychologically it's already connected. That's a fucking takeover, folks. That's a takeover.
But I see both sides of this. Okay, we've failed over and over again. We've gotten to this level to where we can globally now communicate. We can get news across the world in a matter of minutes. This is a massive collective consciousness expansion. Before we were very boxed into our towns, our counties, our schools, our churches. Now we're consciously expanding our awareness to off planet. So our consciousness has reached this level, but the internet is a reflection of what we already are.
Bingo. And you just answered Claudette's thing. She said, without the internet, I would have never met y'all.
I
Bingo.
was thinking
Exactly.
the same thing, Claudette. My gratitude to just have you guys. Oh, thank God for it.
But I say that we're an anomaly to the purpose of it.
Well, yes.
Well, if it went down, I have no doubt that enough of us would be going inside mentally and beginning to reach out to, that vibration. I do it with you. I do it with you, Jenny, and it's yeah.
But see, that's the thing.
Gilbert is the same way, and there's many times, yeah.
What if this is the first time in human awareness that we've actually been able to if we do lose this technology, it'll be the first time we actually will realize that we were the technology and that we don't need that technology, and we'll figure other ways. But I don't think we'll ever not be without it unless we lose everything completely, because we love to communicate with each other. But I do think that this is also a venue to show people you are the technology. This physical technology was created.
We're the antibodies to the virus.
Yeah. Yes.
And we're not infected. We're the antibodies. It's like, well, they can't get to us.
Yes. Yes.
And Trina's totally right in the polarity of it, because again, we mustn't get stuck in this one box, as beautiful as it is, in that I'm seeing so many different places where people are doing what we do here with love and connectivity. I see a lot of rap artists really, they've gone independent. And because like you and Trina's walk of life and me in the church too, because they've been rappers and been in the industry previously, they can speak with authority about what goes on to these young performers and how you shouldn't judge them too quickly to be Satanists, because they're basically doing as they're told. And there's a lot of threats that go with it. So there's a lot of break free. So there's polarity in everything, isn't there? And that's how expansion happens. But Trina's right. Again, it does take it upon ourselves to really put that into the internet, to be that antibody, to be that immune system, because it can be either a weapon or a tool. And thankfully that there are pockets more than us in growing numbers that are not fighting the machine, but infusing the machine with the authority of where they've been in the matrix and how they've come out of it. And so they speak to people that they resonate with. So Trina's completely right. It's not all doom and gloom. It's actually, there's a lot of, like tea, good infusion going on too. But I
All
don't
Satanism
think
is, well, I'm going to do a show on that too. Satanism is just another form of Christianity.
Absolutely.
It is.
That's all it is. And I'm going to do it. And that's going to be the title of it. And because we've got to find, yeah, and it gets into the point, but yeah. And then the reason for
I think that's been the biggest gig. It's like, let's just change these gods' names, give you a new story, change the book, rewrite it again. You know, when you start
Because you
looking
have to
at
do a
these,
wardrobe change too, you know.
yeah, and I
No
really
more
think
top hats, you know, you got,
we need to stop
caps.
looking at all of these gods as what's going to make this a better world. Obviously, they have utterly failed every time for humanity as well as apparently them, because I don't see any of them walking around anymore in their robes. So we need to figure out how to stop focusing on all of that outside and really tap into what are we? What is this human being? Why is it so genetically harvested? What's so precious about it? What do we have that the others don't? Those are the things I want to start looking at, because I do know it seems like every time we get to this place, because I've been shown you've been through this before, you've done this before, I've heard this 100 times. I'm like, done what? They're like, the whole thing. I'm like, what's the whole thing? Well, now I know after watching from 2020 to now. Now I know we're in the whole thing right now. We're in it. We're in it now. This is we're getting too evolved. So this is a battle over, I think, losing whatever that special part of you is to another manipulation, or tapping into the true power that you may have that you're not even aware of. Because I know we do. I've seen it. You've seen it. We are miraculous.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here going, if we reincarnate, if that's what you believe, then in one way we're really truly out of sync with this, because either we've done this to ourselves, or we have seen this before, or
Mhm.
maybe this is truly, someone just quoted Ecclesiastics, nothing new under the sun. That
Yes.
which was, it shall yet be again.
Yeah.
Then, in any time I think this, you almost fall into a sense of complete helplessness. It's despair, because if it's just the same cycle, just in a different time
You
that
know,
someone
though,
says, there
you
has
know,
to be a
Wayne,
point where you advance.
that's what I was just seeing. It's like we're at number seven. Okay, seven is the critical number for whatever reason, because there's a lot of the system is seven based, the seven Elohim gods, the 7 days of creation, 777. We are at the seven now. This is the seven. So, and I've always heard, they always would tell me the strangest thing, and it's so hard to wrap my brain around the concept because it's so big. But they always told me 7, 8, 9. That's why you've been stuck, because 7, 8, 9, we couldn't get to completion. So nine was not available because we kept getting stuck in the eight. So we're getting through the infinity gate for the you, not all will, but the ones that have consciousness enough to get through the infinity, you will get through and get to nine, and you will be in completion. And I really do think that that's what we've been trying to do, but without the level of consciousness, the understanding of the law of the nine, the understanding of creation, and exploring these concepts, we could have never consciously had any way to perceive that knowledge to
What
go
if,
beyond.
as you were talking, I was just getting the idea. So let's say we were genetically put together. No matter what your point of view, the Bible says the same thing.
Right.
So
Genesis. So the whole book is called
it's all
Genesis.
about that. But I'm thinking, so this afterlife, this next realm, this next dimension, this next plane, um, it's always been curious to me which came first, us or this other plane. Now, hear me out. If we were an experiment through evolution, then you see where I'm trying to get to is, like, at what point did we bridge this gap between this physicality of having a soul or a spirit that would be yet joined to this other creation? Because
And
it's another creation. It's not this same creation, it's another creation.
that's what I think. There's something special about humanity. I just do. I think it has
Hmm.
something to do with that blending of spirit and matter in a different
So
way.
I guess when we would cross over, we'd all be graduating, right?
I would assume so, because you would be out of the denser vibrations and going more into your organic vibrations, which
Hmm.
would be, I think, a spiritual existence rather than a physical material existence, which would be extremely higher in vibration. So that would make sense because consciousness moves faster in a higher vibration. So does light. So does thought. There's no time. Time is like a buffer for your creation. There's no buffer there. So I see there are differences between where we live and what we're existing at. And right now, I think we're trying to evolve a very young species that was created, I think, through nefarious
I think they were
behavior.
too. I don't think they
But
had our best interest. Jenny, are
I
you
don't
frozen?
either. I don't either. I don't
I'm
either.
just listening. I'm just listening. That I don't think everybody graduates. I don't.
I don't
Um,
either. Not everybody.
but I know you don't either. But I think as well, I think it was Bonnie mentioned about the brain before, and I think one of the things they work really hard to do, they um is distract and externalize and actually make you feel like you're fighting something worthy. But that actually creates an apathy in the inner self. And we know now that the amygdala, the part of the brain, the amygdala that I believe is the seven, it's the bridge because the amygdala only grows when you're non-apathetic, when you're willing to be challenged, either through going into ice water, the amygdala expands because the physical body is under duress, where radical changes are happening, and your consciousness has to fight just to make your body stay in that water and breathe. And so challenge actually expands that amygdala. And I think that's a huge key that Solomon spoke about in different words, as well as many others, that is actually the number seven. Seven is the spiritual bridge. It's the rainbow. It's the seven colors. It's the Norse speak of it that go down the tree when you do transition. You can't just transition anywhere. It depends where your amygdala of this body, what challenges has it met in conjunction with your consciousness expanding with that amygdala. So if you're going to be apathetic and just going along with a program here, then there isn't too much transitioning afterwards because you haven't got that spiritual bridge, you haven't got that capacity to get over. And so I think that's the other thing of the to not be afraid of these challenges, but be really careful of, are you challenging yourself and your body to actually do something good and build something, not just for your transition, but for now, where you can transcend to other realms and dimensions and visionary quests because you have this amygdala that is able to bridge you there? Or are you going to be apathetic or not even apathetic, look very active, but only active on the matrix sort of field of where politics wants you to go, or religion wants you to go, or schools want you to go? So it really is about taking on your own sovereignty there. And I
Breaking
think
free. Yeah.
that's a huge key of it, that the seven is part of the layer of
And to Jen,
the
we have
physical layer
seven
of the amygdala.
openings. We have seven openings on our face: eyes, nose, ears, and mouth. Seven.
And
Seven
all
wonders
of
of
those
the
can
world.
be challenged
Yeah.
all of those can be challenged. You challenge the amygdala by listening to a frequency that at first
Yep.
can feel quite uncomfortable because you've got resistance in your body somewhere. You sit with that frequency, you push through that resistance, you breathe it out. The amygdala expands because of that, because it's like, wow, yes, I can do this. So actually, peace and apathy isn't that good for the physical body or the consciousness. We need the polarity of resistance. Sometimes it can feel super traumatic, but
Well,
to be able to get
exercise.
into
You
that.
need to exercise your body so it stays strong.
Exactly.
You're
We're supposed
relevant.
to exercise our eyes. I'm doing that with
Exactly.
Theo right now, and his eyesight is improving. And so, but it aches his eyes to do it. His eyes, because the muscles aren't tight holding his eyeball, it really aches. that baby's really
Jen,
pushing through
when
and finding.
I did that when I was a little girl. They had to correct my vision, and I found a doctor that would actually correct my vision, and he made me do eye exercises, and I had prisms. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Ladies,
so
I
Supposed
hate
to
to
do
interrupt on
nothing.
this, but we've really gone over.
yeah,
Oh,
I
heck.
give them
So
some.
I thought we'd just done half an hour.
Yeah,
No.
I used to
But
have to take a little Motrin, and then it
there
made
we
it
go.
full.
All right,
So,
Wow.
everybody. That
Can I
was
just say something
sure.
really quickly? Whoever needs to drink apple cider vinegar, 1 part apple cider vinegar to 4 parts water. Everybody should be doing it, really. But only the apple cider vinegar with the mother in, but there's somebody in the chat that really needs that. Start off your day with that each day before you drink anything else. There's something, it's going to really help your pH and help the kidney issue.
All right. There you go. All right, ladies, this has been fun. It was eclectic around the world and two twists right back at you. So uh we'll see. We'll see everybody next Tuesday. I mean, I love this show. That's why y'all listen. That's why I'm here. So good stuff, both of you. So
Oh,
thank you.
thank you.
thank
Love
All
you.
right,
you all.
everybody. Much
Much.
love to everyone, and I will see y'all tomorrow in the second part of our friend Lucerta. All
Yeah.
right.